Hey creeps, my name is Scarah, and welcome to my tub of terror. Tonight I'm going to be reviewing the movie Midsommar. It'll be spoiler free and rather quick because these bubbles aren't going to last forever. Midsommar is written and directed by Ari Aster, who you may know from Hereditary. He wrote and directed that as well, which happens to be one of my very favorite horror movies. I know all of you didn't like it, and Dilly-gaff, okay? Dilly-gaff. Real quick kind of plot synopsis. The movie starts off in America with our two kind of central characters, Danny and Christian. They are a couple. Danny is experiencing some really difficult family issues with her sister, and Christian is experiencing some really difficult problems with being a giant douchebag. Christian is a giant, sentient toenail, just fungus. He's just the fungus under a toenail. Christian's the type of guy that should have been named Chad. Something really tragic happens in Danny's situation. Christian, at this point, should really step up, and he doesn't. This is the part where he is revealed to be the biggest jerk on the planet Earth. Christian's the type of boyfriend that always forgets his wallet. And he is every bad boyfriend I've ever had all rolled up into one. Christian probably doesn't know how to go down on a woman. It made me feel things. What a fucking asshole. It made me want to grab somebody by the neck and just... Right before Danny's tragedy, we see Christian with his group of friends, and they're all cutting up and shooting the shit and whatnot, and trying to convince Christian to break up with Danny because they're all about to go to Sweden. Boys will be boys, I guess, is what the fucking reasoning is here. So this little soiree to Sweden is supposed to be a boys' trip. Part like archaeological thesis finding trip, and part, hey, let's go to Sweden and get laid. You know what I mean? Danny overhears the fellas talking about the trip and is like, oh, what? What's going on? You see, because her boyfriend has kept it from her. He hasn't even brought it up. He can't even grow a pair of balls and be like, oh, hey, Danny, guess what? You know, me and the fellas were wanting to go to Sweden. Like, if he would have just told her, okay, she would have been okay. But, like, no, she has to find out about it, kind of overhear a conversation about it, and then she has to be the one that goes to him and is like, oh, hey, are you going to Sweden? Like, nobody likes to be in that position, fellas. Just be honest from the get-go. Fuck. But I digress. The group of Americans and one Swedish fella, they all go to Sweden to, you might say commune, I'm gonna say cult. Call your dad, you're in a cult. I mean, that's the situation, you know. There's no spoiler there. I think everybody got that from the preview. Anyway, their Swedish friend goes with them. Like, he goes to school with them. He's the one that's told them all about the cool celebration they're having, and this whole group goes. Danny, her boyfriend, douchebag, Christian, and a couple other dudes. They all go. They arrive in Sweden. It's beautiful, it's sunny. And that's one of the weird elements about this movie that works to distort things. It's so bright. It is daylight almost the entire movie. Everything happens under the very bright sun. Everything is bright and out in the open, okay? There's no secret. Well, there's secrets, but there's nothing lurking in the shadows here. So, like, the minute everybody arrives in Sweden, they meet up with the other young folks in the community. There's some other tourists there as well that some of the community members have brought in. And, oh yeah, everybody takes mushrooms. That's when things start to get really fucking weird. This movie makes you feel like you're on mushrooms when you watch it. They did such a good job with the effects. People's faces changed, and the grass and plants were like breathing, like the tree bark was moving. It was very trippy. I can't imagine going to see this movie if you're already messed up. I know some of you dum-dums are gonna do that. These people on this commune, they love their psychedelics. It opens them up to receive the message, from the great beyond or whatever. It's part of their custom to be tripping balls. As the movie goes on, we can kind of see that not only is Christian a shitty boyfriend, but he's also a terrible friend as well, and a bad person in general. Everybody can see it. The people of the community can see it. His friends start to see it. We're all just waiting for Danny to see it. It's like, come on, girl. Your boyfriend's a toad. Throughout the entire time that they're at the commune, community members are engaged in their sometimes charming, oftentimes bizarre little traditions and songs. There's always like some dancing going on and some weird singing and some rituals later that, I'm not gonna get into and spoil for you. But it all works together to make you feel like you're there. You kind of really lose yourself in the movie. You feel very foreign because you do not understand any of these things that are going on. Like, what are they singing? What are they saying? Or why are they picking flowers backwards? Weird. Let's talk about the set real quick. There are 3 houses like in this open field that make up the commune. And there's long tables where everybody eats outside together. Inside the houses where the younger members of the community sleep together, there are paintings all over the wall above the beds, and if you look at those paintings, it tells you kind of what's going to happen in the movie. That's just a little hint. In fact, at the beginning of the movie, it opens with a painting, and that painting kind of tells the whole entire story of the film. It's not up there for very long, so it's not like you're going to be able to ponder it for hours and hours before the movie starts, but you might see a few things that you'll remember later when it actually happens in the movie. I love stuff like that. I love little nuggets like that, little clues. That's the type of stuff that makes me want to see a movie twice, at least, so I can watch it the whole first time, not knowing what's going to happen, and then the second time I watch it, I'm like, oh, this is about to happen. And you pick up all those little clues that you didn't get before. I love that. That happened for me in Hereditary, and that happened for me in Get Out especially. Ari Aster, the writer and director, says that this movie is not necessarily a horror film, more like horror movie adjacent. He kind of classifies it or discusses the movie as being a breakup film. He also relates it to a fairy tale, and I can definitely see both of those elements. In fact, he wrote the movie as he was going through a breakup, which kind of explains how brutal it gets. It definitely seeded some of the more violent, visceral things that happen in this film. The film is long. This is a bladder tester. The last 20 minutes of the movie, I had to pee, but guess what? I've got a bladder of steel and I held that, all right? I wasn't a pussy about it. It is a movie that plops you into the world that is created, and you really feel like you're there, and you really feel like you're tripping out, and it's very disturbing, and I like to feel that way. I like to feel taken out of my planet. I like to feel disturbed. I like to feel like I'm on drugs when I'm not on drugs. Say no to drugs. I like to say drugs. Oh, and expect to laugh in this movie. I laughed so hard several times. There's a few times where I was laughing where I was like, is this supposed to be funny? And it wasn't, like, often when I go see horror movies, I'm the only one laughing at like a really grotesque scene. They sometimes strike me as funny. I'm sorry, that's just who I am. That's my dark little black heart. Don't judge me. But I wasn't the only one laughing. The whole theater was laughing in some of these really intense scenes. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, I think that was designed to get a laugh, which was super surprising and refreshing. Like you needed to laugh in some of these parts because it was just so intense. You know how Hereditary was a slow burn? If that movie was a slow burn, this was a slow burn, but in a good way. It wasn't boring. Sometimes I think people equate slow burn with, oh my God, it's boring. When is the stabby coming? I swear that's a stabbing motion. Anyway, it's not that. The whole time you're waiting for something to happen, you're like this. You know, it's just beautiful to look at. And the longer the movie goes, the more colorful it gets, the more like technicolor and saturated. These are the last bit of bubbles that I have left in this tub. So I gotta wrap this up. This movie transports you and makes you feel like you're on mushrooms the entire time. You feel an uneasiness. Is it scary? Yeah, it's scary. It's a very like WTF type of a situation. I could talk about this movie forever. There are some gruesome moments in this film. I don't want you to think you're not gonna get any blood and gore, because baby, you're gonna get it, and it's gonna be uncomfortable. You may or may not enjoy it. You probably aren't gonna enjoy it. You shouldn't enjoy it. What's wrong with you if you enjoy it? Weirdo. I just need to convey that you ain't ready for it. All right? There's nothing I can say to make you ready for it. The only thing I can say to help prepare you is don't drink a lot of fluids before you go into this movie, because you're gonna have to pee. Anyway, thanks for joining me in my tub of terror. Again, my name is Scarah. I'll see you in your screams.